Joining you right now with Congressman Matt Rosendale from Washington, D.C. Congressman, we'll bring you in. This is your fourth week, I believe, of headline making pertaining to will you, won't you. You have now backed out of the race for House of Representatives. You've posted a statement on social media. Talk to me.
So the statement just says basically, Bradley, that first of all, I want to thank the people across the state of Montana for the last 14 years for the support and privilege that they've given me to represent them. I've traveled across the whole state, and I've built some very strong relationships with people that I love, and so it made it really easy to serve them. I've always looked at public service as just that, as trying to be in the position that you can be the most effective for the state. And here, as I was serving in the House of Representatives, I had many people encourage me to run for the Senate seat for that election as it was coming up. I had people across the state. I had people serving with me in the House and also people in the Senate that were encouraging me to run. Unfortunately, as we started getting closer to the decision time, a lot of the people that I was going to need, the resources that I was going to need, were not coming in to help me pursue that campaign. And I still thought possibly with the folks across the state support that I was going to be able to win that race. Unfortunately, the very day that I filed, I was surprised and disappointed when President Trump came out and several hours later endorsed against me. He endorsed Tim Sheehy. Recognizing that I did not have the resources that were necessary to run a campaign of that scale, I immediately called up the chairman of the NRSC, which we all know is Steve Daines, and said, I don't believe I have the resources to pursue this race. I am going to support Tim Sheehy to make sure that we can secure that seat, because I truly believe that it's the 51st seat. It's the 51st vote to make sure that Republicans get that majority back in the Senate. And I do believe that our country is so compromised right now that it's critical that we win that seat. Spent a few days at home with my family, and I had incredible outpouring of support from people across the state, including several of the folks that are actually running for the current MT2 House of Representatives seat. And several of them asked me, please run for re-election.
Congressman, can you name names there? Because can you name names there?
No, I would prefer not. I would prefer not to name the names, but they certainly know who they are. They literally called me up unsolicited and asked me to re-enter this race. I did so, and Bradley, over the last 30 days, I've had a death threat. Law enforcement had to go out to my two sons' homes there in Great Falls, where my grandchildren live. I've had false and defamatory statements made against me, and this has weighed very heavily on me. But I will tell you, this past week, while we are serving in the majority, to watch yet another, what they call minibus, which is another form of funding the government without using the appropriations process, while the Republicans are serving in the majority, to watch a $513 billion piece of legislation get passed with more Republican votes than Democrat, and including $12 billion worth of earmarks that came from about 150 of those Republicans. I asked myself, why am I coming up here and spending the time to try and do this work when even in the majority, I don't see us not only not holding the line, but we literally increase spending by an additional $16 billion.
Well, Congressman, I want to jump in.
It's difficult to justify.
I want to jump in because I think what people could say, and I'll say this, I've known you, gosh, I think going on 6 years at this point. You are one of the most combative, I say that in a nice way, one of the most argumentative, I say that in a nice way, people I know in Washington. And right now, listening to you say this, what I feel like you're essentially saying is, I'm just not interested in representing this district anymore. Convince me that's not what you're saying.
I'll tell you what I'm saying. I'm out of gas. The tank is empty. I've been fighting this for 3 years. I understood when I came in under the minority that we were not going to be able to make much progress. But when you gain the majority back and you still aren't even able to hold the line, And I talked to the budget director, Jody Arrington, or excuse me, the chairman of the budget committee, Jody Arrington, and we're not going to even be able to achieve a balanced budget expectation for 10 years. And I see the debt piling up at $3 trillion a year and our border being wide open. I don't mind taking on a battle, but I have to at least have a glimmer of hope that we're going to be able to achieve something. And when we go through all of this and we're not even able to hold the line to stay par for where we are now, and this is on increased spending after COVID, I'm going to be 64 years old in July, and this is not a place to grow old.
I get you're saying, Congressman, that this has to do with running out of gas, and I'm just going to come out and say what I've heard. I've heard from 3 different sources that there's potential that you could be facing an ethics violation for an inappropriate relationship in your office. This not pertaining to the rumor that we heard from Senator Heidi Heitkamp. Do you want to address that? Is that the reason you are stepping down from running for re-election?
It is not. It is not. Anything like that is false and, again, defamatory. And what I will tell you is that when you take on the most powerful people on earth, when you try to challenge the status quo, you are subject to retribution from the very people that are invested in that system. And unfortunately, whether in the Veterans Affairs Committee, where I tried to kill a multi-billion-dollar contract for a company that was not delivering on the services that they had contracted for, or whether it's fighting against this budget where we've got billions and trillions of dollars going out the door, you make enemies with a lot of people in very, very powerful positions that can put any kind of information out about you that they so desire. And it's unfortunate. And I will tell you this, also, Bradley, that there's no other environment where someone could spread that type of information and even have it repeated, except as it's against an elected official.
So when you're saying here making enemies, just the list that I'm writing down of people that I immediately think of would be the former Speaker of the House, Mitch McConnell, the current Speaker of the House. I don't know, who are these people that you're saying that you're embroiled with a scandal that is so large in magnitude that you do not feel you can run for re-election in a district that historically has supported you in huge numbers?
So what I'm saying is that when I come up here and I attempt to do this work and I am not moving the needle one bit, and then all of these attacks come upon me and my family, it makes it impossible for me to focus on the work to effectively represent the people in Montana too. It makes it completely impossible. And so it's time to take that cloud off of this election and allow someone to come in here that can do the work.
Who do you think can come in and do the work? Do you want to make an endorsement? Is there someone that you're looking at?
There's several very, very qualified individuals that will be very effective. I am certain of it.
Because it seems like Elsie Arntzen might be frustrated with you. Is that someone you'd be interested in supporting? She's very conservative and relatively aligns with you, despite the fact that she is frustrated based off of Twitter. She seems to be the person who's most like Matt Rosendale. And I know Matt Rosendale. He knows how to talk conservative politics. So does Elsie Arntzen. Is she someone you'd get behind?
Bradley, I'm telling you, there are several really, really highly qualified individuals that are running for that seat that I am certain will do an effective job for Eastern Montana.
So, Congressman, I joked with you at the start of this, but like I said, in the last couple of weeks, you and I, different announcement every couple of days. Am I looking at an interview with you in 2 years saying, that's it, I'm running for governor? Or are you retiring, going back to the ranch? Is there a drive to continue, or is Matt Rosendale retiring today?
No, Matt Rosendale is going back to the ranch and grandchildren. The best title that I have ever had is Pop. And that's what my granddaughters call me.
I want to leave it right here with what you think your biggest accomplishment in Washington, D.C. was.
I would have to say, because we haven't made any progress on the spending. We haven't made any progress on the southern border. So what I will point to is the work that we've been able to accomplish in Veterans Affairs. And by having the relationship with Secretary McDonough and Undersecretary Elnahal to be able to go in and remove some bad actors within the Montana veterans system and work to replace them and review and improve the entire veteran system within Montana, that is absolutely the big accomplishment.
And Congressman Matt Rosendale, you and I, we have talked a lot over the years, and something tells me, though you're retiring today, this is not the last interview you and I will do. Congressman, thank you for joining me from Washington this morning.
Thanks, Bradley.